crashing Willie's garage.
Ha!
Hello, Rhonda.
Hello, Rhondas.
Hey, it's Willie's Garage. Welcome in. My name is Nick, and that's George. I've watched every episode of Alf. I've been a fan since I was a kid, collected all the merchandise. George is watching for the first time, and we are in the home stretch here, George. How you holding up?
Well, I've been mining for Alf crap. I mean, I'm doing it in my spare time. Clearly, something has taken root.
Oh, yeah, really? So
I'm not saying I
just...
like the show. I'm just
Right.
saying that
Okay.
it's part
All
of me now.
Okay, good. And we were a little bit late starting this episode. Do you want to explain why?
Yeah, I was I had gotten a an Instagram message from my girlfriend, and I was trying to respond while I was running to the bathroom to urinate.
Right.
And I realized at that moment that suddenly there were 3 short video clips that had been sent, and there was a strong possibility that I had accidentally filmed myself. Because who uses Instagram when they're not
It's
excreting?
always in a bathroom. Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know. So, but luckily it turned out it was just pictures of geese or videos of geese I sent earlier. But that was a terrifying few moments.
Oh man, because if you ever do want to accidentally film yourself peeing, I'd make some great IMG content for our other show, CR party. So just always do Instagram in the bathroom, and we'll hope for the best.
This show has already exceeded my expectations.
Me too. Well, let's talk about. I've been very usually up top. We like to show some Alf-related content that isn't related to an episode per se, but going into Alf's second season, Alf was on Hollywood Squares, the new Hollywood Squares with John Davidson and Shadow Stevens, and Joan Rivers was usually in the center square. But whenever Alf was on, apparently, according to a recent oral history about Hollywood Squares, Alf would make their ratings go through the roof. And people credit it for really popularizing Alf's show, too, because, Hollywood Squares was a popular game show at the time. It was on 5 days a week. And so he was always a hit. And somebody sent me every appearance Alf ever made on Hollywood Squares.
Oh, wow.
I don't have who sent that, but thank you for doing that. And it might have been Reese from Australia. So if it was you, thank you. And I thought I'd show a little bit. This is Alf returning for season 2 of Hollywood Squares. And it's great. It's great. I remember tuning in for Hollywood Squares knowing that Alf was going to be on.
I think I'll start with Alf.
Alf, our center square for today.
Who else is on? Will Schreiner, who I loved, Ed Begley Jr., Kim Fields, Tootie.
Emma Samms.
Yes, Princess Jaja. Wait, who is Emma Samms?
I feel like she was a...
Look it up while we watch this.
Yeah,
Brendan
right.
Tartikoff, president of NBC Programming, is up on the upper right. And then Jim J. Bullock, funny man Jim J. Bullock from One Day at a Time.
You know, John,
Yes.
it's great to be here again.
Yes. I'm going to ask you a question, though.
Yeah.
It's nice to have you back.
Thanks.
First of all, congratulations on your hot series. Last year you did Hollywood Squares, and it was a new show, and now you're a star.
Who'd have known that this show catapulted me into stardom?
Yes. I'll tell you, there must be especially thrilling working here with Brandon Tartikoff.
You know, I have a few thoughts on how to run the network.
Well-
I was trying to get in touch with him over the phone. He never returns my calls. So I thought I'd get him here. I've got him cornered. Got something to show him.
What are some of your ideas?
Well, just minor subtle changes, John. Something that you might be interested in. Just a minute. I've got the booth here. I could talk to Bob in the booth. Bobby, roll that tape, would you please? Just take a look at this. All right, go ahead. Some ideas for changing the logo. This is what they've looked like throughout the years. We need to update it. There we go. See?
Ought to be a writer on Hollywood Squares.
Let's lose the peacock, man. The peacock's been on for 50 years. Lose the peacock. When's the last show you saw that had a peacock in it?
Alf, here's your question.
Sorry.
What was the first NB show to be broadcast in color?
It was an early Fred Silverman show. I think it was My Mother the Squid.
First show on NBC in broadcast in color. What was it, Alf?
I'll take a
Tartikoff
guess.
Cutaway.
Yeah.
It's got to be The Wonderful World of Color.
Carl?
I disagree.
The wonderful world of color.
Yeah.
The Colgate Comedy Hour. X gets the square.
I wasn't here then.
Colleen, over to you.
I
Pick a
wasn't
square.
here then. So you get the appeal, right?
I've said it before, but he really looks a lot like Detective Lenny Briscoe.
When he wears
Um,
the Hawaiian shirt.
Well, I think it's just the eyebrows and the hair part.
Yeah. Bring up
I-
a photo of that later in the show so people
will.
know who we're talking about.
And
But
by
and
the way,
Emma
Emma
Samms?
Samms was General Hospital and Dynasty, a British star.
Okay, soap actress. Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Well, so that's a little bit of Hollywood Squares. I have to address head on right now the fact that people now send me Alf memes every day, and sometimes you know how memes come around, and they're popular, and then they'll be gone, and then like a year later they pop back up because somebody posted them, awkward family photos or something.
Sure.
So every time they come back around, I have to be like, thank you. Yes. Oh, this one again, this chestnut. I loved it. I do love getting the memes, so please keep sending them to me, but I've seen them all. I mean, as an Alf spurt, as America's resident Alf spurt, I know all the memes.
Have
But
you
I
made
thought-
any?
Yeah, I did. I actually made one where he's wearing a surgical mask at the beginning of the pandemic and said, I don't kill me. Please wear a mask. So,
Right. Okay.
and then a friend sent me that and I said, hey, I made that meme. It's weird how they go around. But anyway, I
Let me
wanted
show you Jerry
Yeah.
Orbach, and I'm sorry, I just
Oh, yeah.
this is too important.
Right.
So this is Jerry Orbach,
Yes.
and this is Alf.
Yeah. Do you think Fusco, when he was creating the puppet, maybe had Orbach in mind as a model?
No, I think I just am always thinking about Jerry Orbach.
Yeah, most people are. Well, so I want to just get out of the way. I think what are the top 3 Alf memes that have gone around. I think they're great memes. It's great to celebrate them, but I just want to let everybody know I've seen them. Okay. Meme number 1, Eminem. This is Slim Shady at a birthday party with a cake, wearing an Alf shirt that I've seen before, and it says, "Hey." What does it say? Hey, something
nice
underwear?
underwear?
Yeah, hey, nice underwear. Yeah. And there's another one with Alf for President that's in this style, where it's kind of almost like a I don't know, like who's the guy who did the comic art with where you could see the points in it? What's his name?
Liechtenstein?
Liechtenstein. Yeah. So it almost had that look for it, but you can't really see. It's there's Eminem, so that's meme number 1. This makes the round every 6 months or so. This one has been making the rounds recently, and I've seen this before, but I think awkward family photos came up. I guess probably at Sears or wherever they Kmart where they got the family photos done. He probably brought his Alf doll. I have a version of this doll. Where is he? That's somewhere next to me. But
That's
and they
Marty.
oh, right. Sorry. The photographer just was like, well, let's put, his favorite doll in there. And I love the choice. I'm so glad this made the rounds. For a while, I didn't think it was real, because you could fake these things.
Mhm.
But no, this appears to be a real. The Reddit poster said, I remembered this childhood photo, and then I was back home and found a box of stuff, and sure enough, there it was. So
It's beautiful.
phenomenal, making the rounds again. My dad just sent this to me today. And final one, this is a politician, and somebody said, I swear to God I had to zoom in because I thought it was Alf. And I mean, if you haven't seen this one, I forget where it is, but this is a still taken from a politician speaking, and the woman who has sunglasses on her hair with her hair in a bun or ponytail, looks like, is bending down, and it does indeed look like Alf's snout with sunglasses on there.
This one gets sent to me to forward to you at least once a week.
I get it. So here, let's all zoom in. Let's do what the meme tells us to do, and it still looks a little like Alf there. Maybe even more so when you zoom in. But it just, it's one of those things that's just a moment in time that was just happened to be captured, and because of everyone's collective consciousness about Alf, you see what you want to see. When you have a hammer, the whole world looks like a nail. I don't know if that's the right analogy, but I love these memes. Thank you. Keep sending them. But I think in 2021, let's try to get some new Alf memes. What do you think, George?
I think it's up to you to lead the charge.
I will.
And you should do a meme a day. Look, we're nearing the end of January. No, we're past January.
Yeah, it's February.
Yeah, there's still time to make this the year of the Alf meme.
Let's do it. Okay, I'm gonna start, and I'll reveal. Maybe I'll reveal a new meme at the beginning of a Willie's Garage episode, and then hopefully that will take the world by storm. People will share it around, and then they'll come back to us.
Right, and just to let people know why Alf was preempted in previous weeks.
Yeah, well, last week we didn't do a show, and it was because, here's why.
Yes, this is the TV movie The Alamo, 13 Days to Glory, which apparently featured many well-known actors like Brian Keith and Lauren Green and James Arness, who were way too old to be playing those parts. But it featured a young and shockingly handsome Alec Baldwin. And this was based on the book 13 Days to Glory by Lon Tinkle.
Tinkle.
This is real.
Lon
This is
Tinkle.
legit. Yeah.
Wow,
But I needed to get.
It's not very good on the cover.
No, but apparently that TV movie was well known for reusing lots of old footage, and they used a set that was built decades before by John Wayne to film an Alamo movie.
Yeah, we got to look it up. So it doesn't seem. I mean, it was star-studded, sure, but preempting Alf, which is a top 5 show on NBC, I don't know. Seems suspect on a Monday night. That's Alf time. That's prime Alf time. But we are getting into another episode. This is the. I guess you had to wait. So basically, it's been a full month of Kate's mother, Ann Mira, being on the show because you had a week off. She's back for this episode, part of the Dorothy Tanner trilogy. Let's get into a Melmac recap.
Melmac recap. Melmac recap. Melmac.
I like the title of this episode. It's called I've Got a New Attitude. The Patti LaBelle song that became a hit in Beverly Hills Cop, was it? I think it was Beverly Hills Cop's soundtrack. And do you know, George, fun fact about me, I'd never seen Beverly Hills Cop until 2020.
I've never seen it.
It's pretty good. The soundtrack is incredible. It starts off with just wall-to-wall great songs that you're like, oh, that's why that song was popular in the 80s. I recommend watching it. It was something like I didn't watch rated R movies as a kid, so
Right.
a lot of the Eddie Murphy movies I never saw, and it was fun to rewatch. I've been going to watch, during this pandemic, rewatching old comedies I never saw, and Beverly Hills Cop, pretty darn good. Axel F, of course, you know that song, right?
Sure.
So that comes from that as well. So I got a new attitude. This is, again, the third episode in a row, and I'm getting tired of it. Kate's mother is overstaying her welcome. That's the idea, played by Ann Mira, Ben Stiller's mother. And they kind of shoehorn in a Valentine's because this aired on February 2nd, so a day before today in 1987. And I think at the beginning they're just like, "Hey, it's close to Valentine's Day. Let's try to shoehorn this in." And so let's get to the cold open of "I've Got a New Attitude."
Would you mind licking this stamp?
Can't you lick that yourself?
Not with chocolate on my tongue.
Where'd you get the chocolate?
It's the funniest thing. I found a whole box in the back of your closet.
I was going to give that to Kate for Valentine's Day.
Oh, Willie, that...
I like Willie's delivery there. He is the oddest man, isn't he? He just has very odd. I remember my mom saying, "I don't like him. He's odd." And I'm the opposite. He is odd, but I like him because of that.
I find his frustration not funny. I find it repellent.
Really?
Yes.
Oh, I really like his frustration. I think it's very Laurel and Hardy. It's very, here's another fine mess you've gotten us into.
To Kate for Valentine's Day.
Oh, Willie, that's sweet.
He ate the whole box.
I'm sorry.
You have no respect for personal property. You walk in anytime, you take my candy.
I said I was sorry. Whining's not going to bring it back.
Willie, it's all right. Maybe he forgot he forgot the second layer.
Oh.
Right. I only licked those. Great. Now nobody can eat them.
All right, so not much of a Valentine's plot, but Alf is annoying the family again. But it's by way of getting into the fact that Dorothy, Kate's mother, she's found a new apartment to move in. She's moving in on her own, and it's a neighbor is helping her move, and so they have to say that Alf is a chicken, and so she can shoo him into the other room. And in the meantime, Alf has been sending. I like this detail. I've talked about in the past how I like the business that they give Alf to do, and I guess what that means is basically if you're writing a script, you're like a character always has to be doing something, and poor like Kate. Always, and Shadeen, the actress who plays Kate, is always like doing mom stuff, like organizing things or dusting or, kind of unoriginal stuff. But Alf's always doing funny stuff. And in this one, he's sending hams to celebrities.
Alf, why are you sending a ham to Sally Field?
It's my Valentine to her.
I don't think we should send any more meats to celebrities.
Anyone could send shrimp.
I take issue with that. Shrimp is meat, right, George?
I mean, to me it is, but I have a feeling they're classed differently.
I never understood like people who say they're vegetarian, but then they eat fish. Like, aren't fish animals? I mean, they clearly are.
Our show has a viewpoint.
It certainly does. As somebody who's a vegan,
right? You look down at me because I'm merely a vegetarian.
Exactly. Yeah, but I don't know if people know that you're a vegetarian, George. On the show,
it's a shocking fact.
Yeah. So, but to me, shrimp are meat. But as I was mentioning, there's a new character, and I always love. Anytime there's an 80s character actor that comes on, because we can do a little retrospective, which I'll do in a minute after we meet Whizzer. Let's meet Whizzer.
Okay, you can come in now. They put the chicken in the yard.
Mom, what are you doing?
This guy, my new neighbor, he insisted on coming along with me to help me move things.
Well, Mom, he's not going to believe that we have a chicken.
Well, fine. Tell him the truth. We have an alien.
Get in that hen house. Shoo, shoo.
Hi, Fescue. I'm Willie Tanner. Nice to meet you. Hi.
Oh, no, that's what your grass is. Hi, Fescue.
Oh, yeah, that's the name of the grass we planted last year. I thought your name was Hi, Fescue.
Oh, no. That would be silly. My name is Wizard Deaver.
Wizard Deaver.
He should have been Lon Tinkle.
Yeah, I know. Lon Tinkle, the writer of the Alamo book. But that is Paul Dooley. Now, I was trying to think of what I knew him from. And I did some research on this guy, Paul Dooley. You've seen him and stuff, right, George?
He looks familiar.
So this guy, fascinating history. Like a lot of these 80s character actors, they had like this history where they're like dramatic actors, whatever, but they just found work on sitcoms. So he's from West Virginia, Paul Dooley, and he started off as a cartoonist for the local paper there. Then he moved to New York, and he became a children's party clown. Okay, great history already. Then he became a stand-up comedian, got on The Tonight Show, joined Second City in New York with Alan Alda and Alan Arkin, and then became a writer because Carl Reiner recommended him to write on The Electric Company. So if you've ever seen those Morgan Freeman sketches on The Electric Company, which is a show I loved as a kid, kind of a children's Sesame Street, but more of a sketch comedy version of Sesame Street.
Right.
He was a writer and wrote many of those classic sketches from Electric Company. Then let's get into some photos of Paul Dooley from some other work that you might recognize him in. This is Paul Dooley in 16 Candles. He played Molly Ringwald's father, rather, and had some funny lines in that. And so I was like, okay, I know I've seen him in that. He also was he played Wimpy in the Popeye movie, the Robert Altman Popeye movie, which is very strange, but worth rewatching. The music is actually surprisingly good. Stephen Sondheim wrote the soundtrack for it.
Axel F was in that too?
No, different
okay.
soundtrack. He also was Cheryl's father on Curb Your Enthusiasm, most recently. But I was like, what did I recognize him in? Then I was just going through, like I said, I've been watching old movies, and I turned on Strange Brew. He was Brewmeister Smith. He was, or not Brewmeister Smith. I forget. He was Elsinore. He was which, you know, there's a theory. I think it's been confirmed that this was based on Hamlet, Strange Brew, the Bob and Doug McKenzie movie. And he played like the uncle that actually killed the founder of the brewery. And anyway, the ghost of the uncle, the ghost of the founder of the brewery comes back. Here's what I'll say. Paul Dooley's great in the movie as the villain, but also there's Max von Sydow from all the Bergman movies playing the evil Brewmeister Smith. And I'm going to say that Strange Brew is better than Wayne's World. And Wayne's World borrowed a lot from this. It's fourth wall breaking. It's hilarious. It really is a funny movie.
I haven't seen it, but I'll have to put that in the list.
Add it to the list.
I see here that Paul Dooley is still with us, and he is in his 90s.
Yeah.
But when he first walked in, I thought he looked to be about the same age as Willie Tanner. I didn't think he looked significantly older. But
yeah,
I guess he was.
Yeah, I guess he was. Yeah, he'd been around for a while. But yeah, he looked pretty good. He was Sarge in the Cars movies, too, and still does occasional voice appearances. And he appeared twice more as Whizzer in Alf, once more this season and then in a couple of years from now. So it turns out that Whizzer is blatantly hitting on. He's the neighbor of Dorothy. He's helping her move, but he's hitting on her, brings her flowers. Dorothy is not interested. And Alf says she's saving herself for a corpse. She's still fixated on her dead husband, Kate's mother, Sparky. And she says, how do you know? And he says, because I can contact the dead. And that leads to a very convoluted seance scene with Alf holding a seance, which also seems kind of like an 80s trope. So here's the seance.
Sparky, come in. It's me, Gordon. Gordon Shumway.
Gordon, is that you?
I thought it was Regis Philbin, the voice. But I have a theory about it.
Gordon, is that you?
I don't believe this.
Sparky, yo, what's the good word?
Can't complain. Death's been good to me.
Oh, that sounds just like him.
It sounds like Teddy Ruxpin.
That's what Dad sounded like.
Sparky, I'm sitting right here, next to the widow Halligan.
My little dodo?
Sparky, is this really you?
Quiet. Can we let the deceased get a word in edgewise?
All right, so that's the seance, and what happens shortly after that is the guy who sounds like Regis, who's Sparky, and also sounds like Teddy Ruxpin, who we should mention, for people who don't know, was a talking bear. You'd put a cassette tape in his back, and his mouth would move along with what he was saying, and you would read a story. There's eventually a Saturday morning cartoon version of Teddy Ruxpin, too. And I remember it was a cartoon, and I circled it in the Penny's Christmas catalog. I really wanted a Teddy Ruxpin. I never got one.
Well, wasn't there a talking Alf that was similar? I actually bought one a few years ago
talking Alf?
No, a talking Teddy Ruxpin, because I had
you?
heard that the cassettes. So the way they worked was that one track was sound and the other track had beeps that were read and turned into whether to move the eyes or the mouth, because I wanted to make a music video in which that sang one of my songs, a Teddy Ruxpin, while it was on fire, but I couldn't get it to work.
Huh.
And you only get one. You only get one try with that.
Yeah, yeah, I know. I do want the talking Alf doll because it seemed to use the same technology, but they're very expensive on the secondary market. But maybe one day. But yeah, the tape recorder starts going off. And Willie sees that his new tape recorder it kind of gets jumbled and starts fast forwarding, and it's revealed that he cut a hole in the table and put a flashlight there to make the crystal ball, which was a fish bowl. And a pretty good gag. They're like, don't anybody flush the toilet. They ask where the goldfish is. And then Brian, I guess, flushes the toilet. I guess Brian was taking a dump.
Yeah, that's the other thing that implies that the fish not only
Brian was
the
either
fish
peeing on the
suffered
fish or
horribly.
pooping. Yeah. Pretty dark.
Yeah.
And then Dorothy, and it's also revealed that he knew all like what her pet name is because Elf had gone through her stuff. Apparently, she wrote a very detailed diary about Sparky, and Dorothy is mad that Elf did this, and he mails himself in a box to Dorothy's new apartment, which is huge. I would kill for an apartment that big. And Wizard comes over. He knows that she's not into him, but she says, "You know what? Let's go out for dinner." And she kind of says, "Thank you. I do that as a superstition. Thank you," to Elf, who's still inside the box. And so they go out for dinner. There's also a subplot about how Wizard was a famous clarinet player that Willie had seen play. Turns out her dead husband, Sparky, was also a clarinet player, and she gives Wizard her old clarinet.
That was a very thorough capsule of this episode.
But too much, probably more than you want to know. But it was just so convoluted. Any takeaways from this episode from you? This is Ann Mira's last appearance, by the way.
I realized that the guy who can't take no for an answer is another sitcom trope of the guy, and I think I internalized that for many, many years. That like you don't just stop and treat somebody like a human being. You continually
the pest, like the even like Myra in Family Matters, who was obsessed with Steve Urkel. Urkel himself was obsessed with Laura. I mean, you just pestered somebody until they liked you, which is...
Yeah, so I apologize to many, many people. And thank you, Alf, for pointing that out.
Yeah, it was sort of like the proto incel, basically. That was
tragic.
Alf, I always like the Melmacian details in these episodes. Alf mentions a sport called plane ball, which he says is just like hockey, except there's no skating or no puck.
Yeah, I Googled trying to find out more about it, but I didn't find anything else. I don't know if it's mentioned again.
Like maybe in the animated series, maybe? I don't know. They do play bully baseball, I believe, bully ball, which is mentioned more often as a Melmacian sport.
Yeah.
Alf, one of his hams comes back for insufficient postage, and he reveals that on Melmac they had 4 postage codes. There was first class, second class, fish class, and ham class.
Yes.
It's an absurd joke I kind of like. So
that strikes me as the joke you would have gotten in had you been on the writing staff.
Yes.
That's the one you shoehorned in.
Speaking of that, I had a job writing for a TV show, a terrible clip show, where we would sort of like I don't even know what. Talk Soup. It was like that, sort of the worst version of that. Produced by the people who did the Jerry Springer Show and Maury. And so I would drive up to Stamford, Connecticut, where they shot them all on the same stage and write for the show, write jokes over clips of talk shows. My coworker, Chip, who's a comedian in Philadelphia and a writer, Chip Chantry, is going to be on the show next week talking about an Alf episode that we both referenced a lot. We realized we both referenced this episode, and we would try to work an Alf reference into the jokes we would write on the show. So we will talk about that. It's going to be very snake eating its own tail territory. But yeah, you're right. That would be a type of joke that I would have tried to sneak in and hope that would get on. And so kudos to whoever snuck that on. By the way, I think in the credits they do mention that they're like featuring, all the main cast, and they say featuring Ann Mira, and they also say featuring this other guy who I think was an Alf writer or producer who just got lent in to do the voice of Sparky. So I think that's
I was going to say, it sounded to me like it was a very I thought it was Paul Fusco just sped up.
It might have been, but they did mention this guy. I think it was Steven Seagal, not Seagal, but Seagal, who I think was an Alf writer. I couldn't find much information on him, but I think that may have been the voice. But if anybody could find out, let us know.
I think he may have been Brian's stand-in during the seance because his back is facing the camera.
That's true too. All right, well, that wraps up the epic story arc of Dorothy. From then on, she lives in an apartment and is only referenced, to my knowledge. I haven't made it through all 4 seasons watching ahead yet, but let's get into some Alf crap, shall we?
We must.
Part part of the show where we show off various Alf merchandise that may have slipped through the cracks. And it's the Valentine's episode of Alf. I thought, even though it's only February 3rd, we'd talk ahead about some stuff. This was something that was sent to me by a viewer. And at first I opened it and I was like, why am I being sent a Patrick Swayze poster? This is, and it looks like it came from like a teen magazine, you know, like
Right.
And why is Patrick Swayze in this? Then I looked on the other side. It's from a magazine called Bravo, by the way. And check this out. This is suitable for framing. This is a Valentine's Elf with as Cupid here. And I guess this was a fold-out poster in a magazine called Bravo. So
it'd make a good Alf back tattoo.
Yeah, it's about that size, too.
Yeah.
I'll consider it maybe during your tattoo segment. What do you have for us this week?
Well, this is not particularly fascinating, but it's just Alf Shrinky Dinks, just something you would expect. And I guess this is the cartoon Alf. I don't know what your Shrinky. Oh, yes, it is definitely the cartoon Alf.
Well, I have the non-cartoon Alf Shrinky Dinks, and I've actually done them. I can show them maybe on a future week's episode.
That sounds like some uncut Alf crap.
Yeah, so I colored them in and then watched them shrink, and then I never know what to do with them. They're
Yes.
just sort of plastic things that sit around, and but it is satisfying to watch them shrink.
They look like Jolly Ranchers you can't eat.
They do, actually. Yeah, they've just kind of been sitting in my junk drawer. Here's some unopened Elf Valentines. These are I know I have different Elf Valentines in this too, but I like these. They're these also look like they might be foreign, but they're self-stick. They're stickers. So we have Yo Valentine, and this says Be Mine. They're all kind of the same, but yeah. So I could see sending these to a special person in grade school.
How many do you think you could send to your girlfriend before she asked you to stop?
Oh, she already wants me to stop. I have a whole closet full of Elf crap that I can't really bring out that often. So that's where in fact, before I did this episode, I took this big, IKEA bag out, and she's like, "What are you doing? What's in that?" And I was like, "Oh, it's all my Elf stuff." And she's just kind of did a deep sigh. So I think those would actually backfire if I gave them to her on Valentine's.
Oh.
What else you got, George?
More for you.
More for me.
So this is a licensed Alf shirt.
Nice.
Just wink and I'll do the rest, which I guess was on a particular episode. Look how licensed it is. It is 4 lines of licensing, but I only just noticed that. The main reason I wanted to show this is because that line, just wink and I'll do the rest, I wondered if it was from something else. And I found that apparently they were buttons.
It's innuendo, right? Kind of like, hey,
I guess.
Let me know if you're up for some hanky-panky and I'll take care of it.
But apparently this was something from this was a button from the 1940s, maybe a comic strip, and it's being sold as a T-shirt now. But I don't know. I just found it very weird.
Consent is such a tricky area that I don't know that sends the right message.
Exactly. That's what I'm getting to.
Yeah, I don't think that. Yeah. The last thing I want to show is I showed this before from Etsy. It's an Alf. And I think, Valentine's, maybe you want to take a romantic bath with your Alf-loving partner. There's an Etsy user that it makes Alf bath bombs, and look what I've got. I'm going to take a tasteful video of myself putting this in the bath, and maybe I'll have some Alf tub toys, and there's Alf on the phone, and we're going to watch this fizz, and I'm just going to be in the lap of luxury.
Is that going to be on your OnlyFans account, or is that going to be...
Yeah, you'll have to swipe up on my Instagram to...
Okay.
Get to my OnlyFans, but yeah, that is going to be some sensual Alf.
How could it not be?
Yeah, maybe I'll be on my Alf phone. Oh man, that's going to be so great. So yeah, check it out, or maybe it'll be a Patreon only thing.
Okay, so I always close off with an Alf tattoo.
If you've got a case of the Wednesday blues, just check out these Alf tattoos. Yeah.
So here I have my first Alf tattoo video.
Whoa! Did you put the music on?
No.
Oh, this looks like it's going to be great. All right.
Alexei Ulyanov.
That's the tattoo artist?
Yes.
That is a great tattoo. It looks like an airbrush. Look at that. Oh, and the alien and spaceship and
really great work. And that was by Hedgehog Tattoo in the city of Kovrov. And I translated out of Russian. The tattoo was done in one session.
Was it really? That must have taken forever. Wow. Well, maybe I'll have to go to Russia for a tattoo that good. That was phenomenal.
Alexei Ulyanov, great work.
Great work. That's the best one I've seen. And I don't know if I liked the line drawing of the cat. I think, like I've talked about, I think the Elf Eats Cats thing is like the very first thing you think of. It's not a deep cut. I think I would want something more. But
Sparky, maybe.
Yeah, maybe I'd go with Sparky,
or
the
Whizzer.
Dead husband, or yeah, maybe just Whizzer. But I would say in terms of the artwork itself, the BAM, the level of detail, phenomenal. I would consider that one. That one was great. So kudos, George. Good job. Next week, I mentioned we have a special guest, comedian Chip Trancher will be here to talk about the first clip show. I think it was 15 episodes into Elf. They're already doing a clip show. But in fairness, a lot has happened. I mean, we've seen Elf go camping. We've seen him have to hide from dozens of people. We've seen him in the kennel, at the pound. I mean, a lot's happened in these 15 episodes. But it's an hour-long special that aired on my birthday in 1987. In 1987 was my 12th birthday. I imagine I was looking forward to that. And maybe mildly disappointed that it was a clip show, but an hour of Elf on a Monday night on my birthday. I mean, just the world, somebody up there was watching. Some sort of Elf-related god was up there watching.
It's good. I know more about your theology now.
You do, yeah. I do worship an elf-based god.
Clearly.
And so should everyone. I think without further ado, I think it's time to say
Bite
wind. See you next time.
Crashing with his garage.